Mr. Speaker, in this historic moment, I now yield 1 minute to this distinguished gentlewoman from California, the first female speaker in history, and our Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi.
Gentlewoman from California is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the gentlewoman, Madam Chair, for yielding and salute her for her leadership in bringing this historic legislation to the floor. All of us join in saluting Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton, who has been the patron saint of D.C. statehood since she came to Congress. She has been tireless, persistent, and dissatisfied. She has built historic support for this bill, which passed in the previous Congress with 235 votes. I rise as Speaker of the House to join my colleagues on this momentous day for American democracy as we right an historic injustice by passing legislation to finally grant Washington, D.C. statehood. Statehood for the District of Columbia is about showing respect for our democracy, for the American people, and for our Constitution. That Constitution begins with our preamble, "We the people," setting out our founders' vision of a government of, by, and for the people. Yet for more than 2 centuries, the people of Washington, D.C. have been denied their right to fully participate in our and their democracy. D.C., as the gentlewoman mentioned, Congresswoman Norton mentioned, pays more federal taxes per capita than any other state. Its budget is larger than 12 states. Its population is larger than 2 states. Its people have fought in every American war since the Revolution. D.C. residents have been fighting for voting rights and autonomy for 220 years, with a full 86% recently voting for statehood. And it is well past the time to grant them the rights that they have been fighting for and that they deserve. As I said, Mr. Speaker, I rise as Speaker of the House on this momentous occasion, but it is an official honor to do so, but it is also a personal privilege to join Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton, the distinguished chair of the Committee of Jurisdiction, Congresswoman Maloney, and others of my colleagues, our distinguished Majority Leader, Mr. Hoyer, who has made this part of his life's work in the Congress. So to join in this fight for statehood. But it's, as I say, a personal privilege because when I was born, my father was a member of Congress from Baltimore, Maryland, Thomas D'Alessandro Jr., who served as chairman of the District of Columbia Appropriations Subcommittee. That position made him the unofficial mayor of Washington because of the authority that the committee had over the District of Columbia and their every decision. However, my father did not agree with that. He was a proponent for what was then called home rule. So I often say that statehood for the District of Columbia is in my DNA. They went from home rule, then finally having a mayor, and now we want statehood. There is not, and we've always wanted statehood, but now we finally are able to pass it in the Congress. There's nothing theoretical or abstract about statehood. For example, last summer, the country watched in horror as federal agents and out-of-state National Guard troops were deployed against peaceful protesters in the district without residents' approval. And then, on January 6th, as our Capitol was being defiled and our Capitol Police assaulted and killed, and our members and staff terrorized, D.C. leaders did not have the authority to call in the National Guard to protect its people. Granting D.C. statehood means ensuring that its leaders have the tools they need to keep people safe. The governor of any one of our states has the authority to call in the National Guard. That is not an authority that is afforded to the mayor of Washington, D.C. If that were the case, we would have had protection much sooner. Statehood is also a matter of civil rights. The residents of the district have a right to self-governance and control over their lives and futures. And it's particularly meaningful that we passed this legislation just days after the anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's signing the District of Columbia Compensation Emancipation Act, freeing enslaved people in the district. Today, by passing H.R. 51 to admit the state of Washington Douglas Commonwealth to the Union, the House will finally address this unjust, unequal, and undemocratic situation. We look forward to a swift vote in the Senate on this essential legislation so that we can send this important legislation to the President's desk. At the same time, House Democrats will continue our work to protect every American's right to be heard at the ballot box. With that, I urge a strong vote for D.C. Statehood 51 and H.R. 51 today, easy to remember, and for its citizens' civil liberties, security, and the right to have a say in our democracy. And as I yield back, I once again want to commend Representative Eleanor Holmes Norton for her long dedication to justice for every person in our country, starting with the people she represents in the District of Columbia, hopefully soon to be the 51st state of the Union. With that, I urge that I vote and yield back the balance of my time. Thank you.